Hey everyone, and welcome as we continue our study through the New Testament Gospels, looking at the 250 events in the life of Jesus. And today we are looking at Peter and John running to the tomb. This is from Luke 24:12, and John 20 verses 3 through 10. And if you were with us yesterday, you saw where, Mary, Jesus rises from the dead. The two Marys went to meet him or to go through the ceremonial process with the spices and stuff, and they were told to go and tell the disciples, especially Peter, to that the Lord had risen and Jesus has risen. So they ran back and let them know. And so um, I'm going to start in verse 2 with this one. It says, she ran and found Simon Peter and the other disciple. The other disciple, anytime in John, this is John 20, verses 2 through 10 is where I'm going to start. Anytime you see the other disciple mentioned in John, this is John talking about himself. He talks about, in this one, the one whom Jesus loved. They had a close relationship. And so we see that this is talking about Peter and John. So she ran and found Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved. She said, they have taken the Lord's body out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him. Again, they didn't quite, even the women didn't quite understand what had happened here. And it says, Peter and the other disciple started out for the tomb. They were both running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. I love this. You always, John seems to, I don't know what was there. I mean, they obviously were close. They were good friends, but there seemed to be a little bit of a competitive relationship between these two. It's funny to see this, because there's several times where he calls out Peter, right there. In some of the readings it would be like one of the disciples, and John's like, it was Peter did it. And so it's just funny to see. And so yeah, John outran Peter. Got to the tomb first. He stopped and looked in and saw the linen wrappings lying there, but he didn't go in. Then Simon Peter arrived and went inside. He also noticed the linen wrappings lying there, while the cloth that had covered Jesus' head was folded up and lying apart from the other wrappings. Then the disciples who had reached then the disciple who had reached the tomb first also went in. So he waited and let Peter go in first, and he saw and believed. For until then, they had still hadn't understand the scriptures that Jesus must rise from the dead. Then they went home. It's a kind of an um, interesting perspective that you have here. But it's amazing that all the time that they spent with all the time that they spent with Jesus and his ministry and all these things, and they did not understand this until after his death, and they actually saw that the body wasn't there anymore, and that he had resurrected from the grave. And so it's interesting to see that they just, for whatever reason, didn't quite truly get or believe or understand what was happening. And in verse 9 it has said, John writes that they still hadn't understood the scriptures that said he must rise from the dead. And so what we see from John, 20 verses 3 and 4, again, like I said, we learn that the other disciple is that ran to with Peter was John, right? That was John. That's just the way he referred to himself. Um, I don't know why, but that's how he would write. When they got there, they saw the linen wrappings were left as if Jesus's body had simply vacated them. Right? They were just there. They weren't. He didn't get up or he didn't unwrap himself and then put them there and like he was still there. It was just like he had gone through them. And more than likely, I'm not sure how this whole process worked, but he could have done that. I mean, he's now, he's in a new body. We do know that he's resurrected into a new body, similar, I think, to what we will experience with ours. And so it was like he just passed through them. And so then the cloth that covered Jesus' head was still rolled, and it was about the right distance from the wrappings that had enveloped his body. And so it's interesting how this was done. And someone who had, if they would, a grave robber or someone had stole the body, there's no way they would have been a make off of the Jesus's body and wrap the linens back like they were. And so it showed and proved that he had resurrected, and he had resurrected in a miraculous way because of the way the linens were laid out there. And so it's interesting. But what I like about this story is, one, there just seems to be this little bit of competition between John and Peter, but two, it's like they win it and they believe, and it's like, oh, let's go home. I don't know. I think I would have been out searching. Like I would have been out walking around. Like we got to find Jesus. Where is he? But they just went back home, and maybe it was like, you know what? We're not. Maybe we won't be able to find him. So let's go home, and maybe he'll be there, or maybe he'll come back there. But I don't know. Maybe they didn't even know what to think because nothing like this. They had never seen anything like this happen before. In this case, in this scenario type of thing, and so maybe they're just like, I don't know. We'll just go wait and see. And but I don't know. I love what the way some of the things that John puts in the way he writes and puts in his commentary type things about little just side stuff and the little detail, some of the detail that he puts in there. And it's nice to see, and it's nice to see the four different accounts that we have here. But again, they ran to the tomb. And so Jesus is going to appear to the women after this, and that's what we're going to look at tomorrow. And we're going to start seeing the rest of his ministry after his resurrection, because there's a little bit of time that he does spend with them. We're going to look at that around 40 days that he spends with them after his resurrection, and we're going to look at that too. As always, I appreciate everyone for watching. I appreciate everyone for spending the time, taking the time to listen to these 5, 10, 15-minute devos every day. We are getting closer and closer, like I said, to the end of this, and we'll look at some other stuff. But if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and do that, because we're going to continue to look at this and study different things as we go through the Bible, different subjects. I think we're going to get a little bit more topical, more everyday life type stuff. But, again, we're going to stay in the Bible and see how that applies to the stuff we're going through in our everyday lives. As always, I appreciate everyone for watching.